The king was furious. He summoned the three men immediately. He rose from his seat, astonished, and turned to his counselors. Hello, dear friends, and welcome to the Stories of Faith and Grace podcast. I'm so glad that you're here. This series is called Unshaken, and over these episodes, we're going to sit together with men and women from Scripture. Real people who faced real pressure, real uncertainty, real danger, and yet chose to remain steadfast in their faith. You know, these stories remind us of something we all need to hear, that faith is not just about believing when life is easy. It is about standing firm when everything around you is trying to shake you loose. Today is our very first episode, and we're beginning with three young men who were confronted with a choice that would test everything: their courage, their conviction, and their devotion to God. But before we get into their story, I want to ask you something. Have you ever been in a situation where you were pressured to do something that went against your beliefs? You know, a moment where everyone around you expected you to follow along, and deep inside, you knew it wasn't right. Maybe you were told that if you refused, there would be consequences, that you'll be left out, misunderstood, or even punished for standing your ground. This kind of pressure is not unusual. In today's world, when you don't go along with the crowd, you can quickly be labeled as someone who just doesn't fit in. You know, I remember a season in my university years when a lecturer expected students to pay money in order to pass a course. It didn't matter how hard you studied. The unspoken rule was pay or fail. When my results came out, I saw an F. Many of my classmates paid just to move forward, but I couldn't bring myself to do it. I refused. I took that course again the following year, studied again, refused again. And when I finally resat the exam, the third time, I passed. Not because anything about the course had changed, but because I had chosen not to compromise what I knew was right. You know, moments like that stay with you. They remind you that standing firm always costs something: time, comfort, opportunity, sometimes even your reputation. For many of us, the consequences are social pressure or rejection, and for others, it could be something unimaginable. Now, long before our time, three young men faced that very moment. A moment when refusing to bow meant facing death. Their story is found in Daniel chapter 3. There was a king named Nebuchadnezzar, a powerful, ruthless ruler of the Neo-Babylonian Empire. He had destroyed Jerusalem, burned Solomon's temple, and taken the people of Judah into captivity. This was a man who was not used to being told no. And in the story we're looking at today, he did something remarkable and alarming. He built an enormous golden statue, 60 cubits high, 6 cubits wide, and set it up on the plain of Dura in the province of Babylon. Then he called together every official, every governor, every leader in the land, and they all came and stood before this image. Then a herald cried out across the crowd, "Oh, people of every nation and language, the moment you hear the sound of the horn, the flute, the harp, the lyre, and every instrument playing together, you are to fall down and worship the golden image the king has set up. And whoever does not fall down and worship shall be thrown immediately into a burning fiery furnace." And so, when the music played, every nation, every tongue, every people bowed down. Every people except three young Jewish men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, remained standing. These men had been appointed by the king Nebuchadnezzar himself to oversee the affairs of the province of Babylon. They were not obscure, they were visible. And so it didn't take long before certain Chaldeans, influential advisors who, motivated by political jealousy, had been watching, went straight to the king. They said, "Oh, king, these men you appointed, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they are not serving your gods. They did not bow to the golden image you have set up." The king was furious. He summoned the three men immediately. And when they stood before him, he gave them one more chance. He laid it out plainly. When you hear the music, if you are ready to bow down and worship the image I have made, good. But if you do not worship, you will be thrown immediately into the burning fiery furnace. And who is the God who will deliver you from my hands? Just imagine in that moment the weight of those words, the might of the king before you, the furnace behind you, the crowd watching. What would you do? Now, here is what Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego said, and I want you to really hear this. "O Nebuchadnezzar, we have no need to answer you in this matter. If that is the case, our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us from your hand, O king. But if not, let it be known to you, O king, that we do not serve your gods, nor will we worship the gold image which you have set up." Did you catch that? But if not. They were not claiming a guarantee. They were not saying God will definitely save us, so we have nothing to worry about. They were saying, even if he doesn't, we still will not bow. That is a kind of faith that goes beyond comfort. That is a kind of faith that is rooted in knowing who God is, not just what he can do for you. That took real bravery, friends. Standing before a king known for brutality, a king who had already destroyed a city and a temple, and saying no. Now, the king's face changed. His fury was visible. He commanded the furnace to be heated 7 times hotter than normal, and ordered his strongest soldiers to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and throw them in. Still dressed in their robes, their turbans, all their clothing, they were cast into the midst of the fire. The furnace was intensely hot, that the soldiers who carried them were killed by the very flames. The 3 men fell into the fire, bound. Can you picture the crowd in that moment? The silence, the sense of finality, and perhaps Nebuchadnezzar himself believing it was over and that he had made his point, that no one could defy him. And then something stopped him. He rose from his seat, astonished, and turned to his counselors. Did we not throw 3 men bound into the fire? Oh, that's true, O king. Then look, he said to them, I see 4 men loose, walking in the midst of the fire. They are not hurt, and the form of the 4th is like the Son of God. Wow. Then he calls out to them, Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, servants of the Most High God, come out, come here. And they walked out of that fire. The officials gathered around them. The governors, the counselors, the satraps, all of them looking, inspecting, not a hair of their heads singed, not a thread of their garments damaged, not even the smell of smoke on them. Now the king who had mocked God opened his mouth and said, Blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who sent his angel and delivered his servants, who trusted in him, and they have frustrated the king's word and yielded their bodies, that they should not serve nor worship any god except their own God. And he issued a decree that no one across the entire empire should speak anything against the God of these 3 men, or they would be cut in pieces and their houses would be made an ash heap. Because he said, there is no other God who can deliver like this. And then he promoted them. This story brings to mind a verse from Daniel 11, verse 32. Those who do wickedly against the covenant, he shall corrupt with flattery. But the people who know their God shall be strong and carry out great exploits. Though that verse is a prophetic one, historically linked to the Maccabean revolt, the spiritual truth in it is exactly what we see lived out through Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. There were high-ranking officials in Babylon, people with status, with influence, with something real to lose. All they had to do to keep their positions, their comfort, and their lives was to bow once, just once. But they refused. Their strength didn't come from a guarantee that God will rescue them. It came from knowing who God is. Our God is able, they said. But even if he does not, we will not bow. That kind of faith is born from a deep, intimate relationship with God. Not just knowledge about him, but knowing him personally. Trusting his character, believing in his sovereignty, even when the outcome is uncertain. And what they did was a great exploit. Their refusal changed a law across an entire empire. It opened the eyes of a king. It brought public witness to the God they served. God walked with them through the fire. And when they came out on the other side, his name was glorified. Have you been pressured to compromise? Has the weight of what you're facing brought you almost to the point of giving in? These moments can come in any area of your life, at work, in your family, at school, in your professional life, even in your spiritual and emotional world. You know, pressure doesn't always come dressed in the same way, but it comes. Like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, I want to encourage you today. Stand firm. It may cost you something real. You may have been threatened. You may be on the edge of losing something you truly value. But don't give in. Hold on to the God you know. The God who does not abandon his own. The God who does not forsake his own. Even when those 3 men were thrown into the fire, God was already there with them. Remember what Isaiah 43 verse 2 says, "When you pass through the waters, I will be with you, and through the rivers, they shall not overflow you. When you walk through the fire, you shall not be burned, nor shall the flames scorch you." The trials are real, but so is his presence. You are not alone. And if maybe you've stumbled, if somewhere along the way you did compromise, hear this: God is willing to forgive. He is not standing over you with condemnation. Come to him with an open heart and he will receive you. He will restore you. I'll leave you with this beautiful word from Zephaniah 3:17. "The Lord your God in your midst, the mighty one, will save. He will rejoice over you with gladness. He will quiet you with his love. He will rejoice over you with singing." That is the God we serve. Present, mighty, and rejoicing over you. Thank you so much, dear friend, for joining me on this very first episode of our Unshaken series. It means so much to have you here. I pray that this has encouraged your heart, strengthened your faith, and drawn you closer to God today. In our next episode, we'll be looking at Daniel in the lion's den and how Daniel navigated life as a foreigner in a land that was not his own. You don't want to miss it. And if this episode has been a blessing to you, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. A friend, a family member, someone who might be going through a difficult season. And if you haven't already, please subscribe so you don't miss the next episode in this series. Take care, dear friend. Keep holding on, for he is mighty to save.